since Mel's here, why don't we add, I'd like to add 7A to the agenda, which would be proposed elderly tax relief. Motion to add that.
I'll make that motion.
Second, all in favor? Opposed? Abstention, motion carried. All right. Here's a lady with all the info. She's worked on the current programs that we have, which is the deferral program, which is a program that we do have with a lien on it, so that is a deferral program. And we have an abatement program, which is up to $500 based on the number of applicants and based on how much money we set aside on an annual basis. And those income levels we raised 3 years ago, because it sunsets this year. I think we have to do that again.
Yeah, I was wrong with this deferral, we have to do but not
Abatement,
the town benefit goes on until we want to change it.
Okay.
Right.
We increased those to $55,000
Years ago.
a couple of years back, a lot for more people. And we had so many people this year on that alone that the benefit was $444 is what they got.
Town benefit was $430.
$430.
Divided into the budget line.
I'm completely lost. What
Right.
are you talking about?
You know, why don't we start?
We have an abatement. Mel calls it the town benefit. It's really an abatement program because what you're doing is you apply for it, if you file and meet the income requirements, what happens is you get your taxes lower by whatever it ends up being. You take the number, which is 130,000, divided by the number of people eligible, and that's what your taxes are lowered by. This year was $430.
And that is just, you don't pay that back.
No.
But could we go back just 2 minutes about what's offered by the state?
Right.
What the state allows us to do.
Right.
The state offers 2 programs. One, they no longer take applicants, but the first one is truly the freeze program that began in '67, ended in '78. We have 1 person still left on that program. The income level for the freeze program statewide is $6,000.
Holy cow.
Correct. Very interesting that it's still at this low
That's because they discontinued
level.
it.
Right, they discontinued it. Why did they discontinue it? Cost. Because the state was reimbursing us. The other program the state offers is the circuit breaker, otherwise known as the HEART program. That is still in effect, and we do get reimbursed. There are in-kind guidelines set every year by the state. They're low.
What are
Singles
they?
are somewhere around
What is the-
33,000, married is somewhere around 39,000.
What is that program?
Where people have to come in to the local assessor's office and apply, giving income guidelines, has to give information, which is then approved by the assessor and looked at by the state. Because we can get a year later from the state, no, we've looked at this, so yeah, it's a very interesting process. It's rare, maybe you get 2 a year that are basically either under or over, and then we have to adjust the tax bill and send out a refund or send out for additional tax due. So those 2 are by the state, those payments come to the
And
town.
the state's, what is the benefit from the state on the HEART program?
It varies, I think it's from $250 to like $1,250. Again, it's based on your income.
Very low income. Though.
Very, very, very low income. I mean, what is $39,000 or $33,000 today?
When you're in this town alone, per capita income is close to 70.
Right.
Not per capita.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
And we're low compared to our neighbors. Yeah.
yeah.
It was 49.
Yeah, it is.
Now, the
Yeah,
state.
that sounds like
Per
household.
capita. All right.
That sounds like household. That
No,
doesn't
it's
sound
not
like
per
per
capita.
capita.
And actually, you can go on.
Really? Somebody owes me a whole
I
bunch
just
of money.
updated our pro forma for the bond rating. Yeah. Yeah.
You can go online now and get some town profile information, and you'll see on the second document that I've included here, you'll be able to go in and take a look, and there's more information on there. I've gotten from this that there are about 2,000, give or take, people who are 65 and over in Clinton, but that's another discussion for a moment. But back to what the state allows the towns to do. You can do a tax deferral, which we have, a town benefit or tax relief, a tax freeze. Now, what's interesting with a tax freeze, the true tax freeze that has existed for many, many years, you have to be 70 years or over. And
That's the state statute.
Right, and the income guidelines for that are the state guidelines. Very low income, again, like 33,000 for if you're single, around 39 if you're married, but you have to be 70 or over. They do allow us, and other tax relief, which you can call a freeze, and I think that's what the one Willie was gonna be referring to, is 65 and over. And you, the town, can set guidelines inside of the parameter of the statutes, years of residency, you have income levels that you can set if you want. You can set criteria as to your assets. In some towns, you can't have, let's say, money in the bank with more than X number of dollars. I mean, it's a very detailed, extremely difficult program to oversee. It's Guilford's, if there's one that you want to follow, it's Guilford's and Durham. Durham actually follows Guilford. I mean, you got like 50 pages worth of documents, and it's amazing. And there are times on that tax relief, should you want to call it that you do have to leave property still, because you have to apply to the state first to see if you qualify for the circuit breaker.
Right.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that you can't, if you don't qualify for the circuit breaker, you can still qualify possibly for your other tax programs based on the income levels.
Right.
And then there's a computation of, and in the case of Guilford, they're now looking to do a cap on the dollar amount that they give to the program. Durham already has the cap because they found out Guilford ran into some difficulties with how much money they needed to fund the program. And in a given year, what's interesting too, is if you tell someone, quote, their taxes are frozen, and I just want to get into the whole, it's very detailed. If your taxes are frozen, it's possible. It might be 2,000 this year, and you would expect it to be 2,000 every year going forward. It might not be, because if you have a cap set for your municipality, and you have more people apply, and there's a possibility that you're actually going to get less than 2,000. The computation is very, very interesting. But what we have here, and have had, we've had the deferral since '91. Wonderful program here. We've upped the income to 55,000 from 45, married or single. And you do have a lien on your property. The max you can get off your taxes per year, the max is 5,000, of course, no more than what your total. You can only do 75% of your tax, not 100%. There's some, or a few municipalities that actually do 100%, but 75%, and you get a lien. No interest on the money that is deferred. But the moment the person passes away or transfers the property, sells or transfers the property, interest starts to accrue at 1.5% until they sell the property.
Unless it's paid off.
Unless it's paid off. Right.
Annually?
By month, 1.5% per month. But while they're alive or until they sell, there is no interest. In that sense, it's great. I looked at a lot of the municipalities, actually I got this great document. Most municipalities charge anywhere from 4% to 7%. Annually. We did charge, when we first started the program, up until 2006. We adjusted every year. We had like 6%, one year was 9%, went back to 6%. Right. Right, because Chris Barta, our former assessor, came to us and stated that the whole point of doing that tax deferral program was to help people and their families and whatnot, and that interest really shouldn't be. And quite frankly, the interest is so small. You know, when I worked out the figures, it has to be done manually, it's not a problem when there's a payoff. You're talking $200 or $300 worth of interest.
Right, because it only starts at the,
you know, we really weren't benefiting. Great program. Why do people not take advantage of it?
They don't like the lien.
They don't like the lien.
right.
Don't like the lien.
But we had more people take advantage of it this year.
Correct. We have 25 people currently on the 2011 grant list. I have 31 people totally. 25 people are on the tax deferral program in the town of Clinton. That is definitely an increase of an additional, I think even either 7 or 10 people from the last year. We have 31 people overall from 2006 to now on it, because sometimes people go on it one year and then don't go on it the next year for a variety of reasons, and they can legally do that, which is wonderful. I don't know how many more people will get on the tax deferral, but it's truly a wonderful, wonderful program that we offer. The town benefit we put in place in 2001, we started out with income of $45,000. The town benefit tax relief program is simply a line item amount of money that you, the board, have decided it was $130,000.
Actually, it was higher at one point.
It's $150.
And based on how many people actually went into it, and then a few years back, Chris was still the assessor, you guys recommended we dropped it by 20,000.
She recommended,
Yeah.
right. So this year, there was, so we had $130,000 divided by, people had $430 in a credit to their tax. Don't have to pay it back. Line item in the budget, yes, taxpayers overall, you know, are paying for this. And it was about 302 people. I don't think a lot of people still know that this program exists. When I was hunting over the last few days for how many people are 65 and over, we've got 2,000 plus or minus people that are over 65 and only 300 and something are applying. But I did have a quick conversation with Donna Semple yesterday and said, you know, a lot of people don't like to come in because they have to give their income information. So they really need it, but they don't come. And they're never gonna come. They're never gonna come.
Right.
We were just, you know, unless they're really in dire straits, they just don't wanna come. They don't wanna give us that information. And obviously we have to have it because we have to have the guidelines based by the statute to do that. And what was I going to tell you? Oh, and people, back to the tax deferral, a lot of people are getting reverse mortgages.
I was gonna ask you about that.
Reverse mortgages, the companies will not allow
Right,
you
we've had that issue.
to have a lien on the property because they don't, you know. So I feel very sad about the fact that we've had some people on the deferral program that actually had to get off. That was really
Remember
sad.
that?
Yeah,
On
that
one in
poor
particular.
guy. That
What
is
about
so
if you have a
sad.
reverse mortgage and then apply for
Hey, Donna,
the, yeah,
you can go for the abatement program or the town benefit because there's no lien. So you could get that $400 or $500 potential credit, but you cannot go on the deferral because of the lien. If you have a reverse mortgage, you're
The reverse mortgage comes and checks every year.
oh, they do, that was my
Oh,
question,
yeah.
yeah.
They find out if there's any taxes, they
They pull it in.
typically pay the taxes off and, yeah.
If you went for one of these housing rehab grants,
Yeah.
and you're in that category, and you came in to get on the deferral program, you would not be allowed to, because there's a lien, no interest lien putting it into your
Yeah, that's
property.
one big difference between a regular mortgage and a reverse.
Yeah.
Regular, you know, once you have it, the liens don't matter, what I do, but.
One other program we do have, and is taken care of by social services, our renters program. And that's for people who rent. And you get a check back from the state, I think in the month of December, which you apply in September, or I think. That's a very nice program. Also the mobile manufactured homes, they qualify both under our, I call it the in-house programs here through the assessor, and for the renters, and the renters actually pays them better. So the assessor's office is very good at saying, you know, really go over and do the renters program, it's much more beneficial to you, you get more money out of it.
And so Cheryl processes those applications.
She does. The assessor's office uses
How many,
it.
do you know how many we have?
I don't know, we gotta talk to.
It's very busy, there's a lot of people who go on that.
Right. I found online, this is old and it's not totally accurate, put out by the Connecticut Commission on Aging from 2008. They went through all of the municipalities and listed whether they had programs, how many they have, their guidelines. I looked at Clinton's, they have information here that's old and not correct. So nothing is 100% correct, but it is helpful if somebody wanted to look at that. But just briefly, a couple of towns locally like Colchester, you pull it up online, they do a tax relief, you have to be 65 or older, residency 6 months or more, income guidelines 32,000 to 39. A lot of them are sticking to the state guidelines, so very limited. They also do a tax deferral, but they charge 4% per annum interest on the deferred amount. Cromwell, just in the newspaper, Cromwell is looking to change from their abatement to a deferral program. Interesting, you've got the selectmen saying they can't afford both programs, Board of Finance wants to keep both, so they're still working that out. Then they only put $140,000 to the abatement program, so it's interesting that they say that they can't afford it, because $140,000 in terms of a mill is
Nothing.
nothing. really, I mean, in the whole scheme of things, it's really nothing. Deep River, gotta make less than $36,500.
And actually goes against your revenue side of the budget.
Oh,
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
okay. Deep River, if you make less than 36.5, you get 50% of the amount that someone receives from the circuit breaker program, so you have to qualify for that, and then you get 50% more. Anybody who makes between $36,500 to $45,000 in Deep River, they'll receive $125. So our 430 looks really nice. Old Line, they do a deferral, 10-year residency, and they use OPMs or guidelines. That's just a brief scenario. It looks like, though, having gotten through halfway through here, most of them do use as a relief program, sometimes called the freeze, town benefit. They use guidelines of the state, or most of them max out about 45,000. Guilford is a totally different situation. They have
Yeah,
category
it's
by
graduated, yeah.
graduated, and they all go up to like 95,000.
Yeah,
if
based
you
on
have a
residence-
20 years
residency.
residency. Yeah. It's a tough, it's a tough thing to look at. There's a lot of issues here.
So what I had brought up last week was the freeze, obviously, we've been discussing, and then I brought up what you and I talked about with our town benefit.
Right,
More straightforward, obviously. Eventually, if you wanted to do anything, increase the income level, and then maybe increase the amount that they were eligible to, at 400, from 500 to 600 max, or 700 max.
right. 500 max is our town benefit currently. Don and I also spoke about, I said, we can't get the information necessarily out to the public. I'm not sure everybody understands, the assessor has to put in a legal notice. Who reads a legal notice? There might be some articles, Patch, Harbor News, but again, I'm not sure people realize they need to read that to find out that the programs exist. I said, well, we could send a card. I sent a card out to all the households, because again, I don't know which households are 65 and over or totally disabled. Sent out cards about using credit cards and going online. That cost about $1,700 in July. Donna had an even better idea. You know the little stickies that gets put on the front of, the front of like the Harbor News that goes out to every house?
That's true, yeah.
Just for Clinton, and if it was done just right, that might be a great way to let more people know that this does exist, and then we could truly find out how many people actually would be more interested. I mean, we can send the cards too, but that's a major expense. You could do steps. But my people with 55,000, there've been a number at the end that would love it to be a little bit higher than that.
Oh, yes, and it's per household.
Good job.
Yes.
77.
77.
Yeah, I think
What
there
is,
are more
BOS?
people than you think would qualify for this.
I don't think it's
Yeah.
as low as 49, but
I do.
if you,
Yeah.
anyway,
What's the question?
Well, it doesn't. I
I'm
mean,
just
it's-
curious.
What's the
Which
question?
one?
What's the per capita?
31.
31.
31.
Okay, for Clinton.
So it is, per house. All right.
For
Per capita.
Per capita.
77
Yeah.
per household, 31 per capita.
So we're capturing the 55,000 and under right now.
Right.
And the state benefit's only, 33 to 39?
Yeah, somewhere's around there. Right, the new numbers will come out February 1st
All right.
for the state.
Well, we're not making a decision on that.
No, I mean, we're throwing all the options out there. This is
And
something
giving you
that-
copies of our current programs to go home and read.
Right. I mean, we may not do anything based on what Mel's researched. Quite frankly, other than the Guilford with the freeze, we're better than,
We are much better than most municipalities, what we're doing, which is wonderful.
I mean, do you intend to put it on this year's
it would
budget?
go for this year's budget, yeah.
I mean, the other thing is to put together a commission and think about it for a year hence and take some time.
Right.
And really investigate it, but get some,
And if
get
you
some
do
people
it,
look at the.
So what's last time when we did it, we actually formed the committee with Melanie and Dolly. We put the assessor on it, and Dolly was a selectman, so she serves two purposes, since she's a tax collector and a selectman, so.
Arthur Isaacson was on it,
Yeah.
there was several others. Now, if you were to do a freeze,
And what were you discussing at that point?
you form the committee, have an agenda, you do
Well,
all
the
the
office-
research.
all the
Was
ideas
this about
are-
a freeze, or what did you conclude?
This was when we did the tax deferral program,
Oh, oh,
and then when we did the town benefit. You have to form a committee,
Right.
bring your findings
No,
to the
no, I get
selectmen.
that, I didn't know whether you were discussing a tax freeze and discarded the idea or what.
We're bouncing around a bunch of ideas, and what's gonna end up happening is we'll form a committee and throw it to them, and say, these are the things we've been talking about, what would you come back and recommend?
Oh, I'd be happy to get a committee rolling.
Right, the whole idea.
Right. And if you do a freeze, municipal freeze, you would, and let's say it got passed this spring, you would have the assessed value of October 1st of 2012.
Right,
But the freeze doesn't kick in dollar-wise until the following July of 2013.
correct, the next fiscal year.
It's a real delay on that
Right.
one. If we were to change anything about
The
our
abatement.
current relief program, that could take effect immediately for July.
Right. This coming fiscal year.
You meant July 2014.
14.
Oh,
For
sorry.
the freeze,
For the
but
freeze,
with the
yes.
current program, to amend the current program, it would take effect for this coming fiscal year.
Right, but we definitely have to get a committee for the tax deferral because we just have to extend it. It ended with the 2011 list, so we do have to do that committee.
Anyway, so
Yeah,
it could serve two
anyway.
purposes.
Could serve two purposes,
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay.
It's a lot to digest.
Would you be
It
able,
is.
Carol, would you be willing to do that?
I have so much
I know.
going, yeah, thanks. No, you can take the 350 committee and I'll do that, but.
Don't look at me either,
I can
all right.
probably- No, I can
We'll put
probably.
the new guy
I can
in.
probably
We'll put the new guy in. When he's done.
Hey, Ray.
We're already giving him work.
Welcome.
There you go,
Melanie,
man.
I think I should probably, I can put some time, I mean,
Where's
it's
Harry?
gonna be.
Where's Hassan
Our meeting's
Harry?
about half an hour.
Yeah, really,
Put it
I
on.
can do it, I
I'll
can
put it on for next week to get a committee going.
Okay.
Here.
but I can tell you.
I'm gonna have to go talk to her afterwards, to see if she's willing to do it.
I know, I'm so busy.
I know you don't like to come out of the house.
I know.
You
I do it though. We do it after work or whatever, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a long committee, but everybody who's on the committee has to do a lot of research, and then you come together, and then it falls very quickly. We don't spend a lot of time,
I don't mind doing this.
yeah. But
Okay.
anyway,
Thank you, Mel.
Thank you.
now you're more confused than ever, right?
No,
No, that was good.
no, it's really gain clarity. That's good.
This is your bailiwick, so.
I know.
I mean, I love the idea, but it's just, you can't, draw out of a cup that
Water
has
out
a
of
certain
a-
amount of,
Right.
a certain level in it, and not expecting.
I think part of it is to just understand that in comparison to other, other municipalities where we are, we're actually pretty good as far as what we offer.
Today, but we have a colossal
Right, and
debt
that's part of-
on
that's part
the
of the-
table, and that's what
Right,
concerns me.
that's part of what
If
drives.
it was a year ago, boom, done,
Right.
yes, but
But capping is the best idea. Whatever you're doing, you cap the dollar amount so that it's.
If you did a
budget line
freeze.
item. Yeah, either, absolutely.
Or even
Absolutely.
with the town benefit program, you set the dollar amount, you may, if you raise the income level, you maybe raise the dollar amount from 130 to 200 or 250, and then it's divisible by however
How
many
many
people.
people apply,
Right.
right, but it would be nice to tell as many people that we actually are working harder to get the information out there. Not that it is our responsibility, but we are trying to tell people.
when the largest piece of Clinton's population is in the,
Hardly ever beats.
I don't know, 25 to 49 demographic, never mind, I'm taking that right back.
Yeah, isn't it?
Yeah, I thought it was older than that.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Mom.
Well, they're all living with their parents still.
Like any other committee.
Oh, I can speak for it, yeah.
Got a couple of
No.
Yeah, that's right.
Where's the big?
All right.